Hello, YouTube divers. This is WaterDive 122, and I want to welcome you all to another episode of Bands of the Alphabet. Last time, we talked about my favorite band that starts with the letter N. Today, we are going to be talking about my favorite band that starts with the letter O. And actually, this is not a band, it's a solo artist. I gotta go with the Prince of Darkness, Mr. Ozzy Osbourne. Um, Ozzy is without a question one of the most iconic names in the metal universe, and I've already talked about him when I've done like Black Sabbath reviews and stuff, but his solo stuff is, oh my gosh, freaking amazing. And the 1980 album Blizzard of Oz is one of those freaking amazing albums. Of course, my favorite song from Ozzy is, of course, the big hit off of this album, Crazy Train. Um, it's one of the most iconic metal songs in the freaking world. Um, Great vocal lines by Ozzy, great guitar lines by the late Randy Rhoads. Randy Rhoads is one of the most, I would say, one of the most underrated metal guitarists ever. I mean, when comparing him to like Tony Iommi and Kirk Hammett and I don't know, some other great guitarists like Chris Oliva, I would say he's in the same league as all of them. He's a freaking amazing guitar player, and if you don't believe me, go check out the solo for Crazy Train. It is freaking killer. And of course you got great bass lines by Bob Daisley. Great drum fills by Lee Kerslake. And on this album, his lineup actually consisted of two keyboardists. One of them was with Ozzy at the time when this album was being recorded, and another was on the tour of this album. Lindsey Bridgewater was on the tour on this album, and Don Airey was the keyboard player while they were actually recording the album. So there you go. Do I really need to explain Blizzard of Oz? It is just a freaking amazing record. I mean, with Crazy Train alone, it's honestly one of the best albums from 1980. One of the best metal albums of all time. One of the best solo albums of all time. And I heavily believe that this is a freaking amazing way to kick off a solo career. Kind of in the fashion that Dio did when Holy Diver came out in 1983. There's no denying that this album was important for Ozzy since he had an ugly, ugly exit from Black Sabbath in the late 70s. And when this album came out, it was like a big screw you to Black Sabbath, even though in that same year Black Sabbath released Heaven and Hell, which is a freaking amazing album. I've already talked about Heaven and Hell. Now when it comes to the honorable mentions, we've got three bands that I don't know as well as Ozzy, so please try and bear with me. First honorable mention goes to Overkill, thrash metal legends. My favorite album from them is, of course, the 1989 album Years of Decay. With my favorite song being Elimination. I can't remember who the lead vocalist for Overkill is, but he has the voice, especially on songs like Elimination, where it kind of sounds like Elmo from Sesame Street is behind the mic, like a heavy metal version of Elmo. It's just freaking amazing. I absolutely love his voice on that song. And it's one of the most iconic metal songs, so there's that. Next honorable mention goes to Oasis. Now, Oasis, I will always have a deep level of respect towards them, simply because they created Wonderwall, which is one of the most amazing songs ever. Now, yeah, the sibling rivalry between Noel and Liam Gallagher was anything but picture perfect. Um, but overall, when you actually listen to their music, it's like it's just like they're best friends, but of course, that's outside of the studio. Maybe even in the studio. Who knows? But Wonderwall is an amazing song. I like Oasis, but I need to get into them more. So there you go. And then this last honorable mention was a band that I really did not want to pick, but I was going to pick Opeth for the honorable mentions list, but I'm not really a big fan of the style of music that they do. I mean, and plus they're kind of one of those bands that are like unpredictable. Like I keep hearing that they're progressive metal, I keep hearing they're death metal, I keep hearing that they're both. And I'm not really a big fan of death metal, so there you go. The band that I chose here was One Republic. Now, I don't like One Republic that much. I mean, they're not a terrible band. I mean, Counting Stars is absolutely amazing. It's a masterpiece. I love that track. But One Republic is kind of like with Maroon 5. They are kind of controversial to me. Mainly because they're a pop rock band. And, on this channel, I tend to avoid pop bands alike. But Counting Stars is such a great song. It was so hard for me to choose One Republic over Opeth, because I know I would trigger a lot of metalheads out there. But especially Quest for Metal, because I know Opeth is his favorite band, and sorry, man. But like I said, I just don't really like that type of music. I mean, I love prog, don't get me wrong, but I don't really like death metal, so. I mean, I'm slowly warming up to it. I mean, I'm listening to Cannibal Corpse, for crying out loud. But yeah, this was really hard for me to choose One Republic, because I really don't like the type of music that they make, but Counting Stars is such a freaking masterpiece. So yeah, with that said, One Republic comes here. But still, none of those bands even live up to the potential that Ozzy has. He's a freaking 10 out of 10 musician, solo artist, vocalist. What more can I say? Ozzy Osbourne takes the letter O. So with that said, that concludes this edition of Bands of the Alphabet. Thank you so much for watching, my fellow YouTube divers. This is WaterDive122 signing out, ready to dive into more fun on YouTube. Thank you for watching.